How the dumb cold plunge fad will not only improve your mental health, it can also make you a better business person. Hey everybody, I'm Leah Benson, and I'm a body-based psychotherapist in Tampa Bay. And today, I've got my business consultant hat on because I want to tell you how cold plunges can improve your business skills by making you better at dealing with conflict and improving your ability to stay focused on one task when 6 other things pop into your head along the way that you can't seem to resist. Before I can do that though, I have to back up a step and explain some basics of how your brain and body work. Long story short, there are 2 states your body can be in, either energetically activated or energetically idle. And no matter what you are doing, you are either going to be in a very activated state, a very idle state, or somewhere in between. And for the most part, unless you're a high-strung person, when you go through your routine every day, you are dealing with a pretty status quo energy level range. Not too high and not too low, depending on how predictable your life is. And in both situations, we're talking about number 1, conflict, and number 2, staying focused when you have 6 other things that pop into your head that you also want to take care of. You are dealing with an elevated energy state that you either do not want to be dealing with, in the case of conflict, or that you are unable to maintain control of, in the case of lack of focus. And that's because to deal with conflict, the status quo energy level in your body goes up, whether you're simply thinking about addressing the conflict or actually taking the steps to deal with it. That's because that's the way your brain works. Its job is to supply you with the right amount of energy for the next moment. So if you're thinking about the conflict you have to address, your brain is going to change the chemistry of your body so that it's prepared for the position you're going to have to maintain in the conflict. Whether it's a physical conflict or a battle of wits, where you want your idea to prevail. And if you avoid it, it's because you are either unwilling or unpracticed at tolerating the discomfort of the energy surge. So you avoid it. Knowing that, let's turn to the cold plunge. Turns out that just like thinking about dealing with a conflict, the body responds to the prospect of a cold plunge exactly the same way. As you think about getting into that cold water, your brain starts supplying your body with the chemicals it's going to need to deal with that stressor, which is what the cold is. It's a stressor, which literally means nothing more than a situation that makes your brain provide your body with more energy so it can move or learn. So a conflict is a stressor, a cold plunge is a stressor, a sprint is a stressor, an exam is a stressor, and so forth. When you build up an ability to get into 40-degree water every single day, you have built up an ability to approach and enter a stressful situation. One that never feels good anytime you do it. Just like dealing with a conflict that you don't really want to approach. Because that cold plunge is uncomfortable every single time you do it. 35 to 45 degree water just never feels easy to get into. So it's a really excellent bioenergetic exercise to build your capacity to approach and enter an energetically charged situation that you just don't want to deal with. So there you are, in the cold, dealing with the same situation you'd be in during a conflict. You're fully submerged in an elevated stress situation. And in the case of the cold plunge, if you stay in the water for several minutes, you are building your ability to tolerate a high-stress situation in a very direct way. And that makes you better at conflict. Now let's turn to focus. There you are, in the cold. Your energy level is rising as your brain tries to keep your core temperature at a reasonable level, which is exactly what happens when you're in the middle of a task and another task comes to your mind. Your brain supplies you with more energy to do that next task. And if you're not practiced at staying focused and staying put as your brain builds your energy level, which can feel very uncomfortable, then you're likely to be someone who runs from one task to the next and looks back later in the day having never finished the first task. When you practice sitting in the cold, you practice being able to tolerate the discomfort of the rising energy levels in your body without losing your focus on what you're doing. You build your capacity to focus under stress and take control of what you do with your body when it's got more and more energy building in it than you're comfortable with. You decide when you're going to get out of that water, and you choose a point far beyond when you're comfortable. Slowly but surely, you build the ability to stay in that water until your energy level brings you to the shivering point, and even beyond. And that is the point at which you become someone who can start a task and finish it before moving on to the next thing. That is when you are someone who has enviable focus. And that is when you've just made yourself a better business person. The only time this doesn't work is if there's something deeper going on. Maybe you don't really want to be doing what you're doing. Maybe the goals you think you have for yourself are not really motivating you. Maybe one of the blind spots I mention in my 3 blind spots costing you millions of dollars video is secretly holding you back. And if that's the case, contact me at leahbensontherapy.com and we'll unwind whatever that is. If not, enjoy getting comfortably uncomfortable with the cold plunge, and I'll see you next time.